Hello everyone, it's a left-handed lady coming at you today with our December plan with me. This month I wanted to go with something warm and cozy with also a very big holiday theme. I was really intrigued by this idea of my cold windows looking out with all of the decorations on the inside. So that's what we're going to be painting and drawing today. I'm starting out with my Winsor & Newton watercolor palette in just a mixture of vibrant blue and white to get that icy look for the outside. I am going to give y'all a little tip here. I mixed as I went, and as you may be able to tell, it didn't register very well on the camera, but they are slightly different blues or different shades of blue as I'm going up the window, and I wish I had taken my own advice, cleaned out my pan on the other side of my watercolor palette, and mixed up a bunch of blue to start off with, because if you mix a whole bunch at the beginning, you're not going to have to remix throughout the process and worry about getting the exact same color. Now, like I've mentioned before, if you're going to use watercolor or any kind of paint in your bullet journal, you need to make sure that you have thicker paper. Yes, this 160 GSM is thick, but it's not watercolor paper. So I'm not going to be doing extreme watercolor on it because it's going to buckle. Any paper that's not meant for watercolor is going to buckle. But I can't resist. I love using watercolor and I just love the way it looks on these windows. So I didn't use a whole bunch other than the windows, and you'll see me do the wreath. But just a little warning, if you're going to do this in your bullet journal, make sure you have at least 160 GSM paper, because it'll just shred any other kind of paper. You could also use watercolor paper and cut it out and put it into your journal. I just feel that that's unnecessary because it adds a bunch of bulk to my journal. But to each their own. So I'm going to mix up some of this darker green in my palette with some of the olive green in my palette and get a very Christmassy green. That's really the only way I can describe it. I looked at it and it instantly made me think Christmas. And I'm just using a round tip brush and almost like dabbing it on there to get those leafy like edges. You know me, I'm not a very realistic painter. I don't like to do things super detailed or super realistic. I just want the shape and the look to be about the same. So I'm just going on the inside and the outside of that pre-drawn circle and making it look leafy like a wreath would be. Going back in and just adding a little bit more saturation to certain parts to make it look a little bit thicker or deeper in those parts. Now I'm going to go in with my brown Tombow brush pen and trace out the framework for the windows. Now just remember that unlike watercolor, these brush pens are going to layer and get darker and have streak lines. So if you're going to layer something in a certain way, make sure you're doing it to the aesthetic of your picture. So I'm making sure that all of my wood grain is going the same direction, which means my pen is going the same direction the whole time, so that I get that wood grain look instead of just marker lines, if that makes sense. And I'm going to apologize. My dogs have decided all of a sudden to make the biggest ruckus. Every time I record, it never fails. So just use this as a tip. Whenever you're drawing straight lines, you can always turn your journal and pull straight towards you. Makes it so much easier to get that straight line without using a ruler. And using the very tip of that brush is how I'm getting those thinner lines. Try not to push down too hard because those Tombow brush pens are pretty flexible. Going in with a red Tombow to fill in the stocking. And honestly, my red Tombow is starting to die. I feel like I said that last episode, but it's true, and a lot of my pens I've had for many years, and they're on their last legs. So I'm getting the most of it out of it this month, and I might need to buy a new one. But I love this color, and I will have all of the supplies I'm using listed down below. So just going in with the simple stocking shape, it's running off the page, so I don't really have to get that little footy detail in it. And I'm going to use a red Crayola fine tip or super tip marker and color in these little light bulbs at the top. I'm also going to be using a green for the other lights. Just going in with that same green and coloring in a few of the presents on the windowsill. I tried to mix it up, the shape and boxes, and add a bag in there just to make it look aesthetically pleasing. I am using two different greens from the Crayola Super tips, sorry, and I think that gives it a little bit more of an eclectic feel because nobody else always has the same color wrapping paper. It's always mismatched underneath my tree, at least. Going in with a really dark brown marker and framing that frame that's in the windowsill. We're going to be putting a little quote inside of there later. Now going in with a super light gray Tombow brush pen, I am filling in the inside of those stockings so that it looks like they are three-dimensional, a little bit of depth in there. Going in with a blue Tombow, filling in our frame, and then I am going to take a fine point pen, well, a pencil first, because I always use a pencil just to make sure I don't mess up, and I am writing "Be Merry" inside of our frame. Then I'm going in with a fine tip pen and tracing all of our little details. So I'm going to be tracing the candles that I left white just to give them a little bit more dimension. I'm also going to be tracing all of the presents. Now, I didn't show it on camera, but after filming, I did go in and write all of my dog's names on those stockings. Just thought it was too cute, and I didn't even realize that I put the right amount on there when I was sketching this out. So a couple days afterwards, I decided to write my dog's names on them, and I think it turned out so cute. I'm going in that quote little frame and writing out "Be Merry" in kind of mixed writing. I think it makes it look really festive that way. Then I'm going in and tracing the line of the lights, and how I'm connecting the lights is very easy. I'm starting with a large scribble, connecting it to a smaller scribble in like a triangular form. It's really loose, super free-handed, and not very realistic, but I think it turned out really cute, and it's super easy to recreate. Now I am getting a scrap piece of paper, and I am cutting out a cute little sign to go over our wreath that we are going to write out to say December for our cover page. So I'm just taking that dark brown again to make a frame just like we did on the other side. And I'm just writing out with pencil December on it, and then I'm going to take my red marker and write December out. Then using Elmer's glue or even a glue runner if you wanted to, I'm going to glue it on top of the wreath. I really wanted something that stood out, and once I had painted everything there was really no way of getting that color back on there, so cutting out a piece of paper was the best decision. Now is my favorite part of the whole spread. I recently purchased gold watercolors. I know, don't they sound amazing? And they look even more amazing. So I'm going to be adding gold accents throughout the whole spread, starting off with the little flames of the candles. And honestly, the camera just doesn't do it justice. This gold watercolor is literally so beautiful and so shiny. It just glides onto the paper. I'm so happy with that purchase, and I will definitely be using it in other spreads. But I'm going over the quote as well as the flames, and then adding a little bit of detail to the presents. As you can see, those are the pans on the right of the page, and they're just gorgeous, aren't they? I have all of those different colors, and I'm using the more brassy toned one. I just think it went with the theme a little bit better. It's a little bit warmer than the others. And I'm going to go in and add a little bit of like gold lining to the frame of our wreath, because I think it needed a little bit of pizzazz. And also, once I started painting with this gold, I couldn't stop. Now I'm going to angle the page a little bit so you can tell how shiny it is, and it is magnificent. And I highly suggest that if anybody wants a little pop of gold and shimmer in their life, to purchase this watercolor, because it is fabulous so far. Now I did get a little bit of water over there, so I'm trying to go over it, and as you can see, it fixed okay. I really wish I hadn't done that, but I did, and you just make mistakes sometimes. And sometimes you can fix them, sometimes you can't. So we're going to make sure everything's dry, and then we're going to flip over to our monthly spread, which is going to be our events calendar and our trackers. And we're carrying over with the present and light theme. So we're going to color in the lights just like I did on the cover page with the green and red bulbs. And going in and coloring in all of the presents with that red and green. I also am using a gray to accent the inside of my bags so that it looks like they're open, or that they have like tissue paper inside of them. Now you could definitely do this spread with more colors than just green and red. I know that everybody wraps their presents in different colors, or you maybe just don't like the combination of green and red, you could definitely go with an all red theme or an all green theme, or even add in some brighter colors or just blues. But I really love the way these doodles turned out, and I think this spread is super cute. So I'm going in with that blue from the cover page and making every other day of my monthly spread highlighted, so it's a little bit easier to track. I like this better because it's a little bit more free than making the harsh black lines all the way around the grid, and I think it looks a little bit more fun. So I'm going back into that gold watercolor. I know it's a lot, but I absolutely love it, and it just makes me smile when I look at it. So isn't that the point of your bullet journal? Adding a little bit of pizzazz to the presents, and then I'm going in with my Sharpie fine liner and outlining everything just like we did on the cover page. Now, like I said, these lights are super easy to do. They look very intimidating, but they're literally just strings and scribbles with little dots on the end. Super easy to master, and super quick to do. So if y'all recreate this in any way, I would really like to see your lights and how you interpret them and how you draw them, because I love seeing different forms of artistry. Just going in with my fine liner and outlining each of these boxes. This on the left will be my events calendar page, and then the right side is going to be my trackers. So this month I'm doing a little bit different. I am doing a larger horizontal tracker for my mood, so I can write out how I'm feeling each day, and then small little calendars on the side for my individual trackers, such as my medication and my pets, those kind of things. And we'll see how I like this. I really liked the way it's set up with this theme, so we will see if I use it just as well as I use my others. It's a slightly more time consuming, but it looks a lot more neat and a little bit less boring than having two boxes on each page like I did last month and the month before. But I guess boring is okay if it works. So we'll see if this works, and I may continue this into January, or I will revert back to what worked in November and October. So each of those boxes will correlate with the day of the month. Some people fill in each of those boxes with dates like I'm doing on the vents in the little mini calendars, but I can kind of tell what day I'm on without them, so I felt no need to. If you feel like you need to, then go do it, because a bullet journal is all about what makes you be able to use it better. And you thought I was done with the gold, but I'm not, because I realized there's two very important dates that I needed to highlight, and what better way to highlight them than with gold. So I'm using two different colors of the gold to do Christmas Eve and Christmas Day on my calendar, just because I know I'm not going to have anything big to write down there other than that, because I unfortunately will not be going anywhere, but I am lucky enough to have my family that lives with me be able to spend that time with them, so I really wanted to make it pop. And what better way to do that than gold? So I'm sorry if I'm annoying you with all the gold, but I couldn't resist. I just love it so much. Let me know how y'all think about it in the comments below. And that's about it. After writing on those, make sure they're fully dry before writing on them, and I do suggest that you write over it a couple times, because it does leave kind of a filmy sheen over the gold, and sometimes it's hard to write over it. but that's it for this month's spread. I am super happy with the color palette and the way everything turned out. I really like it, and I hope y'all like it too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.